Hi there, it's been a minute. The most commonly asked question that I get is, what camera do I buy? But we're going to step away from that for a second and talk about the second follow-up question that I always get, which is, hey, does gear really matter? I thought it would be interesting to address this because it's such a highly debatable topic, but I wanted to split this into when does it matter, when does it not matter? I think breaking it down into these pointers can help us really see value in whether we should be investing our money in the most expensive equipment out there, or can we work with the basics, get the job done well, and move on. So let's start by looking at when does it really matter. I think the first pointer that comes to mind when I think about when it really matters is that your gear really defines your excitement or your motivation to pick up the camera and shoot more. Picking up your camera and shooting often gives you practice, but it's also important for you to be comfortable with your camera. So I think gear really matters when you have to think about the comfort level and understanding whether this piece of equipment really motivates you to go out there and create the best pictures ever. The second most important point I want to talk about here is understanding what features exist in your camera. Now, of course, the more expensive gear out there has a lot more features to offer than the basic cameras in the market, but it's important based on what you're trying to do as well. Now, given the fact that I work with children who move really, really fast, it's important that I have a camera that can work just as fast to be able to capture them. So for me, it makes sense to go in for, say, a full frame camera that actually has real-time eye autofocus or subject tracking, or the fact that it can record on really high-end, high-speed SD cards. All of these play a big role in how I perform at the shoot. So this is a situation or an example where gear really matters. So understanding your camera, understanding the features, and what features in that camera is most important to you plays a big role in the kind of cameras you buy. Now, the third most important point, and I think this should have been the first one, is because when someone commissions you to perform a professional task, I think it's our duty as professionals to deliver the highest quality of output to them, because it is only good work that brings you more good work, and it's only good work that you create that tells people what you're capable of as an artist, as a photographer. So coming from that perspective, I do believe that when you are a professional out there, it's important to use high-end gear that could help you perform your task to the best of your abilities, versus settling for something that allows you to do only half the job when you're capable of so much more. But that's my 2 cents on why I think it's important to have good gear with you. But let's come to the flip side, and this gets more interesting. Okay, let's look at why or when your gear really doesn't matter as much, and in what circumstances you shouldn't be paying too much attention to it. My first point would be that if you're someone who's an amateur and just starting out, or you're someone who loves the art of photography or the craft, and you're just here for practice, and you love it enough to just make it a passion, you don't really need the highest end of equipment. You don't necessarily need every single modifier or accessory out there to help you perform your job at the highest quality of output, because your gear doesn't define who you are as a photographer entirely. Notice the keyword entirely. And this is a circumstance where I don't think gear matters so much, because you can make the most of what's available around you, use it creatively, and still achieve great results. The second part I want to focus on is important because a lot of my students have been saying this to me over all our workshops and our one-on-one sessions, where I keep hearing this one thing saying, I don't have this particular camera and so I can't perform to this extent, or there's too much shake in my camera because my camera is like a basic camera, or just a whole bunch of excuses blaming their equipment as to why they can't perform well. This trend of wanting much better equipment than what they already have, or the idea of focusing on what they don't have versus what they already have, and this feeling of want, I feel has prevented them from actually producing good work when they can with just the basics. There are enough resources and hacks online to help you perform a certain task in as many ways without actually having the actual gear or equipment that you need for it. So I do believe that there's so much that can be done without having high-end equipment or gear. And I think we're also filled with this absolute desire to get the best in our hands, just so we feel like we've given it our best to perform create a certain image. I think it's important to note that having the best camera or getting more expensive gear does not change your potential to create better images. It does not change the quality of output you can possibly give, because as a photographer, it's your vision that you're bringing to life. And having basic versus high-end gear should not be a limitation. It's important for you to have that faith and belief that you can perform with whatever you have in your hands, keeping in mind that you also have practice. I think the last point I want to talk about here is also that it comes down to what kind of photography you enjoy doing or are pursuing professionally. Now, if you're in the line of events or weddings, for instance, you need to have reliable gear because this is someone's big day that you're capturing, and you cannot have an excuse for missing out on certain images, or having damaged equipment, or even losing images for that matter. I want to bring this highly debatable conversation to an end by simply talking about, hey, that it all boils down to the line of photography or the genre of photography you're currently in. For instance, if you're in the line of weddings or events, these are one-time events that cannot be repeated, and so you want to have extremely reliable equipment that does not fail you no matter what in the midst of a shoot. Or you do not want your equipment getting damaged midway, or having a silly excuse for the poor quality of images. So it's in these situations that I would make sure that we have the best of equipment to deliver the best of pictures. But at the same time, if you're, say, into street photography, which I do believe is strongly heavier on the art side of things rather than the technical side of things. You don't need a million accessories to perform street photography. What you need is a decent camera, a good vision, and great presence of mind to capture what's going on around you. So based on the genre you're in, I think it'll help you evaluate whether your gear really does matter or it doesn't. Think about what I've told you. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. I do hope this video helped you evaluate whether gear really matters to you in your current line of work or not. If you enjoyed this video, do hit the share button, share this with your friends. And if you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button. I'm hoping to see you very soon. Thank you.